Okay, so let's get the header displaying a bit nicer. So I'm going to paste in the code straight away. And we're going to look through this line by line to work out what it's going to do. So first of all, I'm just going to get rid of all of this and just have that display flex. So to begin with, this header is referring to this header here. So it's not got a full stop in front of it. So it's not a class. So I don't need to put class equals whatever. So it's just being applied to this header right here. And then I've got display flex. Let's save this and run it. Let's see what happens. Okay, you can see now that the links have come up from the bottom and gone next to it. So what we've got is something known as a flexible box layout. And it allows us to kind of lay things out in a nicer way as kind of more like a heading. Okay, so in this example, what they've got is a div with 3 things inside it. So 1, 2, 3. And then the display flex basically puts them all on one line rather than having them on separate ones. Okay, so that's why that's kind of jumped up to the top. And it also allows us to kind of change the size of it and where they go depending on how big or small the web page is. And that's useful when people start resizing the page because you never know what size it's going to be. So let's add the next bit because that's still not looking great, which is justify content. What justify content does is basically say, well, how should I lay those 2 things out inside my header? Should it be next to each other? Should it be not next to each other? So if I run that, see space between essentially just creates space between it. So that's now been pushed all the way to the right hand side. So I've got my title on one side of the page, and I've got my links on the other. And again, that's quite a common way to lay pages out. That's what justify content does. Then let's look at align item center. This one's going to be subtle. Okay, so watch it really carefully. See where my website title is. Do you see it's shifted down a little bit? Okay, so it's just centering the text. So rather than having it in the top left-hand corner, it's now centered inside the header. The next thing we're going to add is padding. What padding does is allows us to kind of have a little bit of space around things. At the moment, you notice that these are really close to the edges. So if I refresh that with padding, you can see they've now moved in. So I can control roughly where they are in my header. Okay, so for example, if I want to pad it out a bit more, maybe for 40 pixels, see what happens. If I click on the right thing, see it shifts down a lot, doesn't it? If I change that back to 10, it will shift back up. So rather than having it at the top, it's just giving me a little bit of space at the top to make it a little bit nicer. And also I've got the padding at the side here. Again, I can make that bigger if I wanted to. So the 5%, maybe 8%. Let's see what happens. Can you see it's shifted both of them in a little bit? Okay. So you can play with those numbers till you like it. The last thing we're going to do is actually put a background color in here. This one's probably the easiest of all of them. It's just background color. And again, this is just a hexadecimal value. So again, go to your color chooser, pick whatever one you want to, and boom, that goes in there. So let's look at that. And now I've got a beautiful black with beautiful green text and beautiful pink links. Okay, so that's how you are going to apply and make it start to look like a nav bar. Okay, so still a bit more work to do on it, but now we've got the basics of it working.